Hello? Hello? Okay. We are live. Sorry for the delay, guys. Couple minutes starting late here. Welcome back. Today is Monday, March 16th, 2026. This is a second Finance Committee meeting. And we are going to start with reviewing the Q&A from 3-9 meeting. Helene, do you want to do that?
I really left it open to see if there was any
Oh.
specific questions in regards to any of the Q&A responses.
Perfect. Any questions? And those are available on the website, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Just to refresh everyone's memory, we do have the Q&A questions from our last meeting that Helene has so diligently posted on the town website that folks can look back at, and they'll be filled as we kind of continue to move through the budget process. Next agenda item is just, are there any remaining questions from admin through finance from anyone else on the council? Right now? No? Alrighty. And then, moving along, unless Matt or Helene have anything to say, we'll go ahead and start with Code Enforcement Officer 240. Matt? Nothing?
No, ma'am.
All right.
We're good to go.
Easy peasy. Let's start with 240 Code Enforcement. And I will hand it over to you, Helene, as you get up and running here.
Thank you. Just real quick, if you go to the finance webpage, on your left side, you'll see there's a budget review link for 2027. When you click on that, it gives the schedule as well as all the meeting times, the current agenda. Our esteemed Director of Communications, Whitney, has also will be providing links to the actual recordings of the meetings after they're complete. And up here, you'll see at the top the actual budget book, and then down below here, there's another link for the Q&A. Wait, where is that? I just missed it. Here it is. You'll see the Q&A with all the attachments that were added to it. If anyone is interested in reviewing, I did redact some information to the public. It's in regards to our security for IT. I didn't think that would be prudent for us to provide what services we use for our security purposes for IT to the public. But other than that, everything else is provided.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you redacting that. Like to be secure here at the town of Cumberland.
Trying to get back to the book.
It's okay, I didn't have to call Ron.
Never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment. Sorry, I got into a fender bender, but
Oh, no.
but I didn't have to call Ron Kopp, so that'll be like an indicator that it wasn't too bad.
So yes, the next department to go over is the Code Enforcement Officer. This is a department of one full-time employee plus a, we do have, if you look through your allocation sheet, you'll see that part of we have an administrator, a full-time administrator, and part of her salary comes here as well as support staff. And then our part-time position is the electrical inspector. The majority of the changes for this department, again, is the salary and benefits, and a slight adjustment, again, to training, and it's the same situation where the code enforcement officer found that there was less available trainings through the state, so that he would have to pay for it through a paid service, so he increased it by $200.
Did you have a question?
No.
Go ahead.
Helene, can you remind us, with equipment maintenance, what we did last year, why we added that in as the $1,000? The 2 years prior, it was zero. Is that just moving things around for a vehicle, or is there something else there?
Correct. So in the past, the code enforcement officer used to be reimbursed for his travel on a monthly basis with a flat amount, and since then we've given him a vehicle, so we have added gasoline and equipment maintenance for that vehicle.
Okay. Any other questions about this bucket? Give everybody a minute to get oriented here. Okay. All right, if no other questions, we'll move on to 250 Harbor Master.
The harbor master is managed through the chief of police, and so this department is to cover when one of our police officers also handles the harbor master portion of that, and so this is just any overtime that's required for that position of doing anything regards to that. The only increase here was for under contracted services, and that was the service for the storage and removal and whatnot of the moorings. There was a slight increase on that expense.
Helene, assuming we expand the docks at Broad Cove, are we also expanding moorings there, or are we keeping the number of moorings the same and we're just expanding access space for the small boats, the dinghies?
Thank you, Council. Yeah, the mooring number will stay the same, but it's more of an amenity for those who are using the whole area. That'll be expanding.
So we shouldn't see a large increase in 2 years or whenever if we expand the docks.
No, we
Okay,
should
great.
not.
Question. It looks like I was looking in the revenues for mooring fees, and it looks like it goes up about 1,000 annually, and it looks like we're going up about 800 here on the contracted services. Do those kind of stay in line to where, or was that revenue because we had more people, or did we increase fees to kind of like cover how these things kind of climb, or how does that even out?
Increase in fees on moorings, and then this year just happened to be on coastal float services. They just had an increase in what
Okay.
they're normally going to charge. So I think it was just more of it may be related to fuel and labor on their end. So they let the chief know that at the end of last season they were going to have to go up this year.
We don't have like prior years on here for that. Is that typical, like every year it just sort of increases?
It's been fairly stable.
Okay.
I think, but a couple of bumps up and down, but generally it's been fairly stable.
Oh, I see it over here. It's on the first page. Okay, cool.
Just to clarify too, Andrew, for your question, I think, so when the dock expands, there will be more mooring balls added to the field, but the mooring channel will remain the same, right?
I think right now they're still looking at the same number of moorings. Like this year, they just did their inventory this year for renewals, and I think they had 9 that aren't renewing, if I remember correctly from Chief sent me an email this morning on it. So they'll be going into the list for folks to see if they'd like to do it. They're also looking to manage to see, to make sure people are actually, like the Coastal Waters Committee, if you remember that.
Yeah.
A report that they want to make sure the folks are actually using them.
Yeah.
So there'll be an inventory of that to make sure it's effective. So I think once they get that kind of data, they'll make a decision if there needs to be an expansion in the
Okay.
mooring field.
The wait list was crazy.
It's like 57. Go ahead, Bob.
This was a position that was targeted for elimination from Cumberland for consolidation with the other communities, and I almost cry when I think about bringing it up because it's such a small number. But anyways, I do bring it up. for consideration that going forward, we look at that as either Falmouth or Yarmouth or shared between the two of them.
Councilor Vail, that's a great question. The one item I would point to that is if you look at the amount of the labor cost on this isn't the expense. It's it's everything else. So some of that, I don't know if that would be unchanged as far as what the town would have to pay, because labor's like, was it $1,100 in overtime as an additional item.
I think the real question was that the managers would look at this item and.
Oh, I think if we could, it'd be great. Generally, it's hard to find them. I know when I was in Cape, our harbor master came from Scarborough, so we kind of worked with them. So it's one of those positions that often, if you find someone in house, you can add it to as an additional thing to do, then great. But oftentimes you are, like coastal communities are always looking for ways to do that, to work together, because they might be one person, and if they're out on the water, you can come over here and respond pretty quickly too. So,
Right.
but if there's opportunities there, we'll look at it. But yeah, look, unfortunately, it's the operations cost that drives this budget.
Cool. Any other questions about this? None? All right, seeing none, we'll move to Animal Control Officer 260.
Excuse me. This position, again, is managed through our police department. This position is a shared position with Yarmouth and North Yarmouth. So there is a revenue piece or an offset of reimbursement, which also increases as well based on the increase of benefits and expenses of wages and salaries. Sorry, while I'm trying to navigate and talk at the same time.
Yep, go ahead, Jake.
Hey, Helene, could you remind me how the shelter fees work? Or Matt, or
Sure.
Chris?
Yeah, it's based on the population. So they send, the shelter will send each town that is, basically it's built based on the number of people in your town per capita. That's how they bill us all out for the services.
So like a formula for
Like
there
a dollar per person.
$1 per person.
in a
And
town.
is there? I don't totally I don't know the work stream for when a dog or cat or animal then has to go to the shelter. But is there any opportunity to bill back the resident if like their dog gets lost and goes to the shelter? We could give them a $5 fee or something, or is it just not enough revenue to make a difference?
That's a great question, Tig.
Let me get back to you on that question. I'm not sure the volume that we have in there. I think it's more along the lines just to help the shelter meet their bottom line.
Got
So
it.
they allocate that as a service that they provide. But if there's a way that we could look at that and bill for it, then, or find someone to do that, you also want them to take their animal back too. Some might
Oh,
look at that and say, it's
Of course.
like, oh, you've got Fluffy over here. Well, she's getting close to that. So, but I can find out if there's a way to recapture that, or if we do. I just can't remember. I know.
Just curious, yeah.
I will say the experience I had one time. I had one of our Boston Terriers got picked up by the Cumberland Code officer and went to the kennel that used to be on Outer Main Street, and I think I had to pay $50 to get her back. Probably because I was a interloper from Gray, but I was just glad to get the dog back. So
Yeah, of course.
they were great to deal with, but I think I paid $50 on that one to do it. So it may be a fee that they pay to the shelter, but
Got it.
I'll find out
Just
and get you an
curious.
answer on that. But yeah, and to Councilor Vail's earlier point, this is one of those positions that we do maximize that. So, it generates some revenue for us, and it's also additionally one of those really difficult positions to fill, to find it, because like I think the town I live in doesn't have an ACO right now, and they're always looking for somebody to do it because there's wicked turnover in that. So we're really fortunate to have our ACO, Mike Dark, who does a great job for us, and it works for all three communities fairly well. So it helps us and helps them. So we generate some passive revenue from that, where we share that based on the percentages, and it works out well for all three communities.
Question. Do each of the three towns maintain their own ACO vehicle? Or is it shared?
No, we provide the vehicle, and that's part of the, we do that as part of the.
Yes, so if
fee.
you look, if you look under capital outlay, you'll see that we put aside the depreciation expense for the vehicle, and that basically gets shared out with the rest of the two towns.
Okay.
So they contribute to that vehicle cost as well.
So, like, everything here is split a third, including like the air card?
The only thing is that is not split out with the other two towns is the shelter cost.
Okay, good deal.
Yeah,
Why
'cause
is that
each of those
not?
towns have their own allocation that, like, they'll send them each a bill each year to Yarmouth, North Yarmouth, and all the communities in its area that it serves.
We split the cost, one-third, one-third, one-third.
No, we split it more based on like population, so it's a little bit adjusted to North Yarmouth and Yarmouth.
That's an interesting
I'm
way to split
surprised
it.
They don't do it by like where the
Novel
animals came
concept.
from on
Gosh, that
average.
is such a novel concept. Per pupil.
Per
Who would have
dog.
thunk?
And if the ACO has to work overtime for a specific town, we bill them back for that overtime specifically. So this is just to cover the 40 hours a week, and then if he had to go to North Yarmouth and spend 5 hours of overtime, that 5 hours of overtime gets billed to that town.
Good.
Overtime. Sorry, go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead. You were talking.
Overtime, sorry. Jumping back. Code enforcement officer got a 3.98% raise. This one's at 4%. Is there a consistent raise across the board, or is it on a case-by-case basis?
No, everything across the board is 4%.
4%?
Yeah.
Okay.
The adjustment, again, has to do with correcting any allocations that were built into the Excel spreadsheets in years past versus
Okay.
what was in the system.
Okay. All right. And then, sorry, what was your previous comment about overtime wages?
So overtime in general, if code enforcement if the animal control officer specifically works for a specific town and ends up in overtime, that overtime is billed back to the town that he did the overtime for.
Okay. The health insurance is reflected as 10% on the
Here is it.
bottom and then 12% at the top. So in the chart, it says 10.05%, and then on the top it says 12.67%.
That's interesting. Same thing with the full-time wages.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to take a look at why the system did that.
Just, and Andrew, now your turn.
You good?
I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just had sort of two questions. I really appreciate the notes where they are, but I agree with the person who put the note in of workers' comp of why is this 0?
So the reason why is workers' comp doesn't get charged to each individual department. We, off the books, what we do is when we do bill the other two towns, I do a rate that includes workers' comp so that they're paying a cost of the workers' comp for the animal control officer, but I don't actually budget it into their department budget.
So does that show up then in like at a higher level?
Yeah, workers' comp is in the back under 750 under insurances. We pay it
Okay.
all together as one for the whole town.
All right. And then I don't know if this is you're doing, Chris, but the budget going down by 50 cents on the gasoline. Oh.
I think I answered my own question. I think I answered my own question.
Okay.
It's, percentage change is reflected on the lower chart, and the upper chart is the percentage of the
The
117.
total,
Yeah.
of the total. That's,
God, I have a brain, thank God.
do. One of us has to. It's not me.
All right, any other questions about this area? All right, we'll move on to Public Works.
tickets
Mouse
when they get
switch so
cited by
quickly.
the ACO?
No, but they should.
Right. Can I ask one more question? People get tickets when they get cited by the ACO? How does that work? Especially after our new
Oh, sure.
Valhalla pooping off-leash policy.
No, it's all part of, it's a civil violation. So it's like you get, yeah, so if you get in trouble, like you don't have, let's see, a licensed dog, there's that fee there. If you get a ticket for doing, like if you're in a violation area, you probably get a warning first and then you get a ticket. They're small violations, but they do generate revenue. So it's a, Chief could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's a civil violation. So if someone decides not to pay it, then it ends up, you end up having to follow up on it. But
Got it.
generally, they're not confiscatory.
Thanks.
But yeah, it's just one of those lovely things. It's not a high volume, unfortunately.
Probably more warnings than
Yeah,
anything
yeah,
else.
more
right?
warning than anything. It's usually, Officer Dark's really good with people, and especially good with animals. If you see him in action, but he is, mostly it's about education is kind of the first approach that he takes with that. And then in the case that you have someone who's, let's just say, a frequent violator, then I'm sure that at that point you step it up a little bit more.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. All right, moving on to Public Works. Oh, God, what did I do? Laughing?
I was just trying
No,
to, because Chris is going to be more focused on the public works side.
And he doesn't want me to give him the microphone.
Chris, your time to shine.
Chris, come up to the podium.
Can you state your name and address, please?
So the biggest adjustments for the Public Works is, if you remember, we added a position to this department. This was one of the places where we realized that there's been tremendous growth and requirements for the town for Public Works, but yet the department itself hadn't grown, so there was a request to add a full-time position. So this is adding a full-time position, and as well as the benefits for that position. And I think that was the biggest. The other one would be road salt and striping and contracted services. Do you remember which contracted services was?
Siemens contract.
Go ahead, Andrew.
So on the road salt and the contracted services, is that just costs of things are going up? Like, the cost of road salt is going up, or are we seeing that we're needing more and more salt every year, or a combination?
I do the same with road salt as I do for gasoline. I take a 3-year average of what we used for salt, and then the price of the salt has gone up, but it really depends on the winter. So the 3-year average is about 1,700 tons. A couple of years we've been over 2,000. Some years we've been, 1,500. So it's really all over the place. So I kind of throw a dart, and it really depends on the winter. So this winter happened to be all ice, so the budget is way over on road salt. 2 years ago, I was way under on road salt, so it really is weather dependent.
Chris, is it possible to build a shelter for the community salt you have? Up in West Cumberland, you have the salt that salt and sand people can come get, and you put a shelter over that. Would it be possible to do something down here? Because for the first time ever, I went to get some salt and sand this year, and I had to go through a couple feet of snow, and the stuff on top was frozen, and it wasn't even plowed. But that's
That is the plan. I wanted to see how the one in West Cumberland worked out, and we've got a lot of good reviews on that one. So the plan is to,
love it.
once that worked out, is to cover this one as well.
right. Thanks. All right.
I guess while we're talking about road salt and before they close the salt piles in Portland, financially, are we in a place where maybe we can do like a big buy? And I mean, Morton may want to move some and get it off the books. We may do a little better if we can do something before winter's over if we have the money in the budget. I just don't know where we fall. But part of me wonders if we say, hey, we'll take 500 tons or whatever and fill that building right now, you know, can we save, you know, $50 a ton or something? I don't know.
It's something we can look into.
Yeah.
In some past years, when we haven't used the whole budget of salt, I have done that and stockpiled it. This year, we're well over budget, so I really have to look at, you know, the end of the year and where we're at overall.
What was the new head count for? The new new position?
For Public Works, equipment operator.
Is that you, Jeff?
Yeah, hopefully.
Have you not gotten paid yet?
Hopefully to put me out of a job.
Just some of the justification for that as well is that we're at 6 full-time people at Public Works.
Yeah.
That includes the mechanic and the foreman. A little over 15 to 16 years ago, Public Works was at 9. And there was a bad budget year. A position wasn't filled. It was eliminated for the budget. We then had the parks got busier and busier, so one of the Public Works guys was transferred to Parks rather than creating a new position. And then we had someone retire out probably about 10 years ago when the decision was made to try to go to contracted services and maybe use Public Works as kind of just a maintenance crew, changing street signs, doing little things and no big projects and contracting everything out. Well, we're kind of growing. 2 years ago, we got classified as an urban compact by DOT. So we inherited 7 state roads and all the maintenance for those roads, so catch basin cleaning and all of that. So it's really no longer, it's transferring more towards getting back to the traditional public works because we're really not finding contractors that are interested in doing a lot of work for us. They're trying to find help, and we're really just kind of, by the time we roadside mow and clean catch basins and people do vacations and we do little projects, it's already ready to get ready for winter. So that was really the justification. And when we did become a compact through the state, they do allocate funding to us, and I believe it's over $100,000 a year. So
Like Bailey, when I worked there in college, there was 6 operators and, you know, a supervisor and a mechanic. So there's actually less people than there was 25 years ago, even after adding this person. So.
Okay.
Chris, I got a couple other questions for you, and you knew you weren't going to get out of it this easy, so.
I was hoping.
I know, it won't be too bad. Just on equipment rental, you know, I'm looking at actual for 2025 and what we have budgeted. I mean, if you think we're good at 1,500 versus a 2,160, I mean, I'm fine. I just want to make sure it's going to be enough.
It's really a case-by-case basis
Okay.
if we have to rent a small little excavator or a
Yeah.
pump or something. So I think that's adequate.
Okay. And then vehicle parts, that one's another one holding steady, which, you know, I can speak from a couple people pretty accurately. I know nothing's going down, so if you think, if our actuals support that, then that's great. I just hate to see us on the underside of it also, so.
We've been chasing that for probably about 10 years, and about 2 years ago, we finally got it up to a level that we're able to maintain. We have newer equipment, and it's pretty much staying at that level.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Chris, iron and steel, do you source anything from Tri-State Steel?
No.
You should try them. I've found them to be a much more cost-effective supplier than a lot of the other people, particularly.
So most of the iron and steel is the cutting edges for the trucks.
Right, and I'm wondering if
Yeah.
maybe you know, reached out to them and say, hey, what, make me some cutting edges. They've got the fabrication, they have the shop, they've got punches. I know it's a small item on the overall list, but I think they're
I'll
a
do that.
supplier, a vendor that might be worth looking at. Next one here is heating fuel.
Hey, Bob, before we leave cutting edges, just what's on those trucks is it's a sectional edge by Winter Equipment. It's like a 2-foot section on a rubber piece, so it actually contours to the road, which cuts down on road salt usage. So if you went back to traditional, like 11-foot straight piece of steel that was punched, you'd use more salt, but it probably wouldn't last as long because of how it contours to the road. So while we're paying more money, we're decreasing our salt cost, and we're probably also extending the life. So that's just my opinion, so.
Very good, Jeff. Heating fuel, I'm struggling to see, when I see that line item, we're natural gas. Why are we using heating fuel?
I don't think we just changed the name of it instead of, it's just heating fuel and it's still a natural gas. I think we could change that to natural gas, but it's really for heating the building.
Okay. Telephone and internet, why do we have a phone at all now on Public Works?
They have phones a couple phones in the offices for ordering parts. We do get direct calls from residents up there as well. It's more of there's only, I believe there's 2 phones in the individual offices.
You don't take those calls, they get passed down, or?
No, we take some of the calls down here, but it's really for them to utilize for parts, equipment, anything that they need to make calls out of the building on.
Yep.
We only do a cell phone reimbursement for the supervisor up there.
So when we're all done with this exercise, I do want to see a total breakdown of phone and internet usage across and cell phone. You know, landline, cell phone, and internet across the whole budget.
Councilor Vale, there's also in the Q&A, we've got the internet broken down now too for you.
I couldn't open that
That's
up.
good. Yeah, we can get that over to you.
And
We'll
I'm
get that
curious,
to you.
when Helene sent it out, I couldn't open it up on my tablet, but when I got here tonight and I started to show it to her, I could open it up here, and I'm curious if whether, when I get back home, I won't be able to open it up
Oh,
again.
okay. Would you like a hard copy?
If I can't open it when I get home.
Okay, let me know. We can do that for you too. Not a problem. You know, gremlins are not helpful. When you try
Well,
to find it.
it's not the first time that's happened. I've been able to access something here that I can't access at home, and, you know, I do
Vice
have
versa.
internet, but something is,
Yeah, we can get that all for you. It's not a problem.
That's me, sorry.
Colleen, do we have a sense of actuals on vehicle equipment for 26?
Ask that question again, I'm sorry.
Vehicle parts slated for 100,000. Last year was 100,000. Just curious if you knew what the actual was right now. Chris, what is the majority of that cost for, just like repairs?
Yeah, it's just what it is. It's vehicle parts. It's brakes, anything for any of the big trucks, anything for the cruisers, fire trucks. It comes out of that budget.
So that's just subdivided between equipment maintenance. And so it's like, if we're looking at equipment maintenance, that would be part of also that cost, so the vehicle parts.
Now, everything for vehicle parts falls right under that category. Equipment maintenance is more so the generator repair. Or
Okay,
things
got it.
like that we have to maintain.
Okay.
At this time, we're just shy of 79,000 on that.
And it's March.
Yeah. Last year, for 2025, the total was 92,781.
Okay. Thank you.
Chris, for the building maintenance, it says it's going up by 4,000 and change, but there's in the breakdown it doesn't say what that increase is going towards. If it's spread equally between all the pest control, alarm monitoring, sprinkler system maintenance, etc., or if there's one that's
I usually,
close to that, or
I put that in there only because it's an older building, and it's just for unexpected repairs that I might have to do on the building. The ones that are detailed in there, I have exact quotes and breakdowns for it, but I could lose something, a door could fall off the hinges or something like that. So I have a little extra in there as a buffer to do repairs.
Any other questions on this area? Did you have one to? No.
No.
Thank you. Okay. I guess that's it for you, Chris. We can move on to solid waste.
Thank you.
That's Chris, too.
Back at it.
They're so good.
Oh, those are so
The
good.
best chips.
The Snickies.
Send you right into some fluid around my heart here.
I didn't know you had a heart.
Fair. All right, moving into waste disposal.
Trash talk.
How long have you been waiting for that? All year?
All day. Gotta have some fun, Denise.
Yeah.
Again, for waste disposal, the biggest increases is really towards on the Eco Main line. This is due to the amount of actual waste has increased, as well as the fees. I believe there's some information on the detail line for it.
so. Helene, is that the fees on the Eco Main line, the 30K, and then the actual amount is the 28 for the solid waste pickup?
Yeah, because Eco Main consists of a tipping fee and then the recycling fee. So the recycling went up, correct?
Are the
I can defer to the vice chair of Eco Maine to tell us why everything went up.
Yes, sir. It wasn't my intention to become the vice chair of Eco Maine, but there was a vacancy of the position in Gray that opened up the position, and they said, you're the next guy up. So I'll do the best I can. Basically what took place was this year, Eco Maine voted to change the rate that they charge for recycling materials to equal the same amount as it is for the household waste, or the municipal solid waste. So that's why we see the increase. And you remember from last week where I talked about how this is kind of year one of a 2-year event that's taking place. This year we get the benefit of paying more for recycling materials, and so one might ask, well, why do we recycle then? Well, because it's going to cost the same per ton to do it. However, it's important that we maintain our recycling program because that generates volume. And Eco Maine is going to capture that volume over the next year because they're also, and if you recall, not in this coming fiscal year, but in the next fiscal year is when we start booking the revenues that come from the extended producer recycling program that they have that was passed into law. So these large companies like Procter & Gamble or other companies that make a lot of the plastics that go into our waste stream, they have to set aside a certain amount of money per each unit that goes into our waste stream. And then they'll also look at that from the EcoMaine side of it and capture that volume and know what it is. And they'll know it by community. So they're maintaining or watching our tonnage that goes in. And that will, by October of '27, will correlate to a reimbursement that will come to the town as a revenue for that from the EPR program that they're putting in place. So that was a long story short to say, for this year, we bite the bullet and we get charged more for, we saw a large increase. I think we went from $87 to $117 per ton from recycling to on par with with the MSW. And so that's why we saw that increase this year. And then a year and a half from now, more or less, is when we start seeing the dividends from that show up. And but we can't book the revenue this year because there is going to be no revenue. So we get the expense, and then a year and a half from now, we'll start seeing the revenue come in. So over time, that will, we'll see, and we'll be able to book that. Next year, it'll be, I think we should probably look at the fiscal year, next year's fiscal year's budget. We should probably look at that, and I wouldn't book the revenue. I'd still look at that and say we'll look at our actuals this year, and then we will focus on that, and then we'll book that as a revenue. And then probably for FY '28 is when we'll look at that and say, okay, now we know what an established revenue stream is going to be, and we'll start building that into our budget going forward. But it's going to be, we're going to have the expense for a while before we can realize what that offsetting revenue is going to be. But if we don't recycle, and if people say, well, what's the difference? I'm still paying $117 a ton to do it. You actually are penalizing the town because we need to capture that volume. So the value is there because the more you recycle in the long run, the better revenue stream will come to the town when they finally get that up and running completely and have the volumes there and established.
Matt, how is EcoMaine doing as an entity?
I think they're doing very well. They've got a healthy fund balance. I mean, we're in the process of taking over the Yankee Candle building. Was it Yankee
Right.
Sturbridge warehouse that was right next to it? So they're taking that over and turning that into the recycling center, or where they're going to handle all the recycling. So they're making a major investment into that, about $36 million, to be frank, or accurate, because I had breakfast with the chair and Kevin Roach, the director, last week, because we have our board meeting this Thursday. So we were looking at the revised budget for that facility. So they're moving that all off from, because they're anticipating this much larger volume, and they've quite frankly outgrown the initial facility. So they'll still need what they have, but they're growing over to here. So they've leased that for a long period of time. They're moving everything over there, so they're kind of doing a hard reset and have this brand new facility to handle all that material. So that's going to be a good thing. Fiscally, I think they're in great shape. I mean, we've all been around long enough that it couldn't have always been said. But I know Kevin Roach and his team have done a heck of a job there and turned it around. A lot of really good volunteers. Our prior manager here, Bill, was integrally involved with that, and that was a passion project for Bill, as you recall. And a lot of folks have done that. So they've done a really, I don't know, I think they've got it on good footing, despite some challenges, because the recycling markets have been horrid for seems like a decade plus now. But I think it's very well managed. Where they can find, I mean, Kevin Roach has an excellent knowledge of the market. And where he can take advantage of it. But the EPR thing, to him, I think he sees that as a game changer for the towns, the owner towns. And then they've also grown the membership, like the number of folks who are in like the towns and the communities that are member communities. So they're trying to grow the volume because they need the volume. Because there are certain times of the year that they don't, this year was funny because they had to go in the spot market a couple times and buy because of the way Christmas fell this year. Christmas and New Year's both fell on certain days, so their volume were down, and it impacted them a couple days. But overall, I think the team's doing a great job. They've had a lot of turnover, so they've got some transitions that are taking place there, but with really strong, hopefully long-term capable folks coming in due to some retirements from people who have been there for forever too. So. But overall, I think the organization is running really well, and I think bottom line is I think Kevin Roach has done an incredible job, and he's had a really great board to work with historically. So they've all kind of taken it from 20 years ago where it was financially upside down in a big way, and heavily indebted, to now they've got a healthy bottom line with healthy reserves. So I think they're cited in good shape to meet the next challenge where they go. But the EPR thing is going to be a game changer. I think that's what has also driven them to do that investment into the larger facility for handling recyclables going forward.
Really quickly, and then Tig, we'll go to you. Andrew, did you have something too?
No, go ahead, Tig.
$32,500 for other waste collection. We're in a weird place right now, community, financially. Is this somewhere where like for example, e-waste collection, is that something we need to be doing, or we're doing it because we want to do it and it's a service we provide? Is there a necessity behind it? And while I love bulky item drop-off, same thing. Is that one of those things we look at this and say, that's where we can save $33,000 by removing that kind of cluster altogether?
Chris, you want to jump in on that, or?
They're really not based on a need, it's really based on a service to the community. When we took out bulky item, or when we did this new contract and bulky item was removed, I think we had more outcry from the residents than we ever had on any other issue. They wanted bulky item back. The e-waste, that's televisions, and folks can take those over to Riverside. And then the confidential shredding, they're just all well received by the residents, and a lot of people use it.
I get that, but I also think as a council, it might be worth a discussion. I know, Tig, you're a big proponent of it, but if we are looking to find cost savings, is this one of those things where we say it's not a necessity? Would I love to have it? Yes. But there's other resources in the community, for example, Riverside Recycling, Restore, where you can bring products. You're still having to put them in your car. You just have to go somewhere else. I just don't know that it's worth the taxpayers paying for that. But I'd be open to feedback.
I recall, because I think I answered the 900,000 emails
I
that
know.
came in. I mean, it might be something where, like, we could throw out to flash vote, but I do think that it tends to be a pretty big service that people love. I think that for me, like, the thing that sort of breaks my heart a little bit is for people that don't have a truck or a large vehicle that they can get their stuff into and then get it to the brush dump, or because sometimes people just don't have access to that, and then they're, forced to go a different route. But I don't know. I think personally it's a great service that I think that folks would be willing to continue to pay for. That said, we could talk about maybe, like, do you give $5 when you go to Public Works to drop off your stuff? Like, do we want to, maybe there's a fee for the drop off, a slight revenue generator to help offset. And I do think at least the one where people are able to drop off their drugs. Which one is that?
That's through the police department.
Oh,
They
okay.
do the drug drop-off. That's pretty straightforward.
I think that's a really important one, because you don't want a lot of that stuff to be, especially flushed, which is not great for the.
It isn't?
No. I think if people want to have a discussion around it, and if any community members want to get in touch with Councillor Douglas about getting rid of
Gee,
your
wow.
bulky item drop-off.
I didn't know Metro now has a run through town, Councilor Douglas.
Listen, I like it, but I also think that there's a lot of people that are struggling with what our tax rate is right now, and $32,000 is not a small amount of money, and I think it's not worth a discussion. But if people want to keep it, that's fine. It's just thought I'd throw it out there.
One thing to consider, Counselor, or counselors, would be, I will say that one of my experiences has been since it was brought back, people have universally been happy with it because they don't have to go to Portland for it or another community. It's easier because they don't have to go as far. And we've had folks who help them. You know, for a lot of older folks, to have people who will help them get it out of their car has been a nice service as well.
Yep.
It's one of those things. Once it's gone, people really missed it, and then it also helps. And I know it sounds funny, but it's anecdotal at best. Things disappear from being on the side of the road, where in the past people would put that there, and then we've seen it on Forest Lake Road. Someone used to put things out, and then before.
That was probably me.
I don't know. I don't think it was yours, but people would put it out on the side of the road, and then it would sit there all winter, and then break down, and then we'd come by and have to pick it up. So it's like one of those things, like tires or things along those lines, furniture items that people just chuck out on the side of the road and then forget about it.
Yeah.
It kind of helps reduce that, but really it's about a convenience item for people to get rid of. Like the e-waste stuff, if you can get that out of your main waste stream as well, that's huge, because there are materials in there that shouldn't be going through the incinerator.
Yeah.
So there's that side of it on the environmental part, and then of course the e-waste. The confidential shredding is a major concern. Just because people don't know what to do with it, and not everybody can have the opportunity to burn it or shred it. So those 3 weekends have had huge turnouts each time for folks to come as a service. So it's one of those, not a have to have, but it's a nice to have. But this one I think would be more than just a nice to have. It's more like a really, really, really nice to have service that's there.
Does North Yarmouth do it at all? Do we know? I wonder if we could collaborate with them on that.
Yeah, they have a bulky drop-off. It's right around the same time that we have it.
Yeah.
They hit my two other things.
Does Yarmouth have a neighbor program where we can pay to use their transfer center? Like I accidentally did when I moved here. Didn't realize you couldn't just show up and drop off all your cardboard, which no one noticed, but that's not an endorsement. But for real, now that everyone, except for me, abused the cardboard drop-off. I'm kidding. I know not everyone did, but abused, yes, the cardboard drop-off service, and that probably won't be coming back ever. Having an alternative is nice for, not having to cut up your cardboard into little pieces and put it out little by little. So I don't know if that's ever been, I'm sure they don't have enough people, enough, capacity to do that with other towns, but I do know that, cardboard is a decent moneymaker, right?
Of all the materials, that's probably been the most consistent
Yeah.
of them out there. At least the market's been more stable, I guess, than others.
So have you heard ever about other people being able to use Yarmouth's transfer center for
I have not. I know they've
cardboard?
tried to come. I know some North Yarmouth folks have spilled across on our bulky item drop-off day and had to be explained that it's not, that it wasn't a larger event.
I mean,
But
I'm happy to pay.
We run into it in Gray too, because Gray's
Yeah.
dump's open on Sunday, and New Gloucester people sneak down and try to sneak their trash in as well. So it's one of those things that, across towns, they run into that on a, I mean, it's
If you
funny,
want to
but
pay,
people
you
are funny
can
about
come put
trash.
it in my dumpster.
Yeah.
How much?
We can negotiate that.
All right.
Sorry, you had
Still though, if you're gonna talk about consolidation and that whole thing, let's talk about recycling and trash and drop-off locations being more accessible to everyone if we pay, please.
Riverside's minimum fee now is $30.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was 25.
It's $30 now.
Wow.
And their
It's probably because
their tonnage rate has gone up too.
Oh, okay. I know that one, looking back at Eco Maine, some of the areas that they've looked at is on the private trash haulers, like fees that they've paid. We've noticed that has had some challenges, so there is some follow-up that needs to take place with the private haulers to make sure that say for instance, if trash is generated and if someone uses a private hauler, might have a dumpster at their house, that hauler needs to make sure that they are taking it to Eco Maine as part of their approval to do it, but sometimes they may be going to other facilities that aren't charging them as much per ton to do that. So there's some leakage there that I know they're trying to track now as well to make sure that the operators are doing what they're supposed, by contract, they're supposed to be doing. So that's one area of concern that we've looked at operationally from the EcoMain standpoint.
Yeah, there are a couple of, there's a facility in West Bath, there's one in Old Orchard Beach, and there's
Yeah.
the other one up in Auburn. So, I mean, if you,
So if it makes sense, if it's $87 versus 117, you've got a full load, that's gonna add up over the course of a year.
Were we going to talk at some point about, I think during budget season, doesn't necessarily need to be now, but we were looking at maybe like a town-wide garbage to garden drop-off for, since the compost program did not work particularly well. So one, are we going to talk about that at any point? And then two, I think, and Andrew, this might be an item for you to take back to the LCC, but they have their, that facility, or sorry, they have those boxes set up in Town Hall where people can drop off their clothing, jewelry, shoes, like any kind of material, and then that gets taken away and created into recyclable, like insulation, I think. And so also curious if that's a success, would it also make sense to put those drop-offs, some in West Cumberland as well?
Love it.
Maybe if we had some space, because it'd be nice for people not to have to schlep all the way here,
Put it on my property.
put it on Bailey's property. But do you know anything offhand about the success of those? I see they're always full when I'm dropping off
Not
crap, but.
those, I've heard the like shrink wrap plastic, that's been successful, to like turn that into benches and stuff like that, but I haven't heard specifically about the insulation aspect of things.
Are we talking about composting?
Matt, do you know anything about the
time to do it.
composting?
I think
I'll
Denny
defer to
Gullet-
Chris on that.
Yeah, Denny Gallaudet has reached out to me a couple times for the Lands and Conservation, and wondering if we could do something down here as a pilot program down at the brush facility. The challenge is the facility's not open during the winter time, and we would need to do some type of a container, because we tried to do it, so we built a bin and we dumped it out, and it was just kind of a fail. It only lasted about a week, and we had to say, okay, this isn't gonna work. So it's not off the table. I mean, they talked about putting something at the library parking lot. I don't know if that's the best place, or if that's something the council wishes for us to explore further, we will. It's really just gonna be the challenge of containment and where.
I think we were curious at the time, not about revisiting the pilot program at Public Works, because I think we all remember the diapers and hearing about the rats, and that sounded like it was kind of a lift, but as to whether or not Garbage to Garden might be up for doing some like drop-off sites instead of like curbside where people could, dump their waste.
I guess my theory with, the composting food waste is, every year Garbage to Garden has to pay a hauler's fee. And and we've been coinciding with Bailey's comments about the tax rate. Can we go to Garbage to Garden? Because ultimately, their raw product is making a compost they're selling for like $80 a yard. And say, hey, we'll waive your hauler's fee for the year, but give us 2 containers in the town. You're already coming here on all these other places where you're making money, picking up the food scraps and selling the compost. And then we can minimize the cost of the taxpayers.
I'm up for that.
I can strong arm them.
It's a great idea.
The other item regarding that, EcoMain may in the future get to the point that they can handle the compost. They're looking at, again, Kevin Roach was out, I think he was out in Minnesota. I looked at a facility that has it, so what they'll do is, like, you'll have a different colored bag, and you just put that, when you throw it in, and they have the bins out there like we have, and they'll throw their household waste in there, and then they'll throw another bag, a different colored bag for compost in with their collection, and then when it goes onto the floor, they've got a way to sort it, so it'll chuck that bag off to the side, and they'll use that, and they'll have their compost collected there. That's not gonna happen next year. It's gonna be sometime before we get to that point, if we get there, but that's an option that I think he's interested in seeing, if there is a fertile ground
Maybe this would motivate them to move it along quicker if we were like, let's do this with garbage to gardens.
Yep.
And then they'll realize because it also impacts our total waste disposal. If we're then subsequently removing whatever, then we're not throwing out as much. So,
And bag fees.
and bag fees.
Yeah.
So that might be a motivator.
And we can reach out definitely to Garbage to Garden and see if, and come back to you if there are options that we have. And we'll take Councilor Mahalik advice and say, okay, is there a way we can, do an exchange in kind here to make things work?
In
Let me know,
kind.
I'll go with you. It'll be fun.
You know what I was just thinking is someone should
Jeff
start
wants
an
to knock some
app
heads.
for like chicken owners where you could like drop
Scoop my
off
poop.
food waste.
363 Main Street, drop it off, I'll put it in the mill.
And then you give them poop in exchange.
Yeah,
Oh,
No, it composts it for
this could be my
That's
retirement
what I
game.
mean, like,
Yeah.
All right, any other
that's-
questions?
you give them some back.
So you all covered trash
Councilor
talk,
Douglas, I
haven't we?
do have one.
I've got one after Jeff.
Who's that?
I was just saying I've got one after you.
Oh, go, no, you go first. You've been waiting, I'm
Good.
sorry. Yeah, my apologies.
Matt or Chris, can you sort of break down the increase for the solid waste pickup with the carts and the curbside? Is that, because the tonnage fees should go into the EcoMaine side of things, and the tipping fee, right? And the recycling fee? And, just where is that 28K increase coming from?
That's our 5% increase on our 5-year contract. We have-
Okay, so it's just a contracted thing, that's just
Yeah,
it.
that's for picking up the waste, the carts, the cart rentals built into it, and the truck to go around, so.
Okay, thank you.
All right, guess I'm up. I know this is probably semantics. When you look at full-time wages in 2026, we're at 14,423. Then we went to part-time wages for 15,000. Just curious what's going on. Are we partially funding another position through this, or were you hoping to get somebody, or just curious?
I think it was put in the wrong spot on the full-time wages. It's always been under part-time wages.
Okay.
It's been funded for a few, probably about 3 years. We took it out because we haven't been able to find anyone, but I left it in this year because we really are required by DEP to have it manned while it's open. So I'm gonna have to try to find a part-time retired person that wants to work the facility and chat with people and just check brush
Could be
passes.
me.
Could be Bill.
Sign up.
Could be me.
He looked at me, so he volunteered.
Here we go.
Love it. Oh, go ahead.
I gave it to Denise. But I just wondered, I think I asked you last time, when we go up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
please.
Bill Young, Hedgerow. Cost to purchase versus rent. I think because I know North Yarmouth purchased theirs. We gave them said, hey, well, Cumberland's renting theirs. You could have done that. So I just wonder, I'm sure you've done the analysis on which is more effective. And I can't remember what you told me.
Yeah. Chris, if you want to jump in on that.
I think the analysis was really the upfront cost. We were looking at, this was going to be a big hit for us, and the upfront cost was going to be around $450,000. We felt it was going to be best for us to break it out over 5 years.
And we're not in the container business as a result of that as well. Not a small point.
Go ahead, Denise.
Just a comment. I think, and I don't even know if I'm allowed to do this, but at our next council meeting, I think we need to talk about the composting thing, kind of like once and for all, and the direction we want to go with that, because I know, based on minutes I've read, the LCC is still kind of like waiting for a response on whether or not we do want to do the pilot program, or whether we want to put ordinances in place for this stuff, mandating it, this and that, and I think, so that's still a question. So I think we should officially decide and then forward that on, whether that is just now informally or if we need to put that on the agenda or something. But I think there needs to be closure there, either way.
Oh, for sure. Could we maybe give Matt a little bit of runway to reach out to Garbage to Garden? garbage to garden, and just see what our options are, so that then we can kind of like have, like,
Yeah.
what's the playing field, what's gonna be feasible, and, you know.
Sounds good.
But absolutely, let's hit it.
Yeah, if we could target like the first meeting in April, maybe.
I can do that.
Yeah,
Great.
I can meet that.
cool. Thank you.
I think if the Lands and Conservation Commission have an issue, they should show up here.
Oh, Bob. I think they did. Remember, they presented to us
Yep.
on the.
Yeah, well, keep showing up. We'll give an answer sooner or
And I,
later.
and I know
Not
Denny's
everyone
been
could show up
pursuing
here.
some grant opportunities as well, and availability for different funding resources, so. But as far as the concept of running our own composting facility, I think, it's not something that we'd recommend doing, but we'll explore the other options.
Yeah. I think to echo your sentiment, Matt, I think there's a lot of fringe expenses that go along with operating. It's not just the line item of the compost, it's the staff that go to, support it, all those things, and equipment. So I'd rather be outsourcing that to someone that they understand how that operates. All right. Anything else before we move on to Valhalla? Seeing no one. 350 Valhalla Recreation Center.
Yes, so this is just expenses related to the building. There is some offset revenues that we don't see here, but are obviously the cell tower, the rental income received from Rachel's, as well as, our vending machines.
Just one thing to flag off the cuff. I have a library committee meeting on Wednesday, but there was one thing someone mentioned about having a vending machine there. Who supplies that, do you know? That's done through us?
I usually do through the vendor, through Coca-Cola or Pepsi.
Okay.
Or if you want something special, we've actually even looked into purchasing one, because we had down at the maintenance building, but the cost to lease it was kind of beating us up a little bit, so we're actually looking at purchasing one outright. So.
Okay. Denise, did you have a question?
No, I just had a really stupid thought.
Bob, Vale?
Heating cost at Public Works was $15,000, and then if I look at Valhalla, it's 14.5, basically the same cost with a 20% differential there. What's going on there? Understand that a little better.
So I'm not sure your question. So Public Works we're heating basically an open garage.
Right, and I get that, and your temperatures are lower, and, you wouldn't keep it at room temperature like you do here, but your cost to heat Valhalla, which is residential use, really, so I expect the cost to be higher, but I don't understand the 20% there. That increase. And I'm looking at, Public Works of 1%.
I believe we increased it $500 because we were looking at what it was in '25 and where we're at for '26, and trying to make sure that we stayed within budget. Because if you look at '25's actuals, it was $14,176.
Councilor Vale, on
This is for
what you're looking at on page 77 is the 14.5 is the that takes up 20.58% of the overall expenditures for the whole shooting match.
You're right.
Another change with that is the cost of the fuel. That's on propane and it's not on natural gas because the line's not going down that far.
He's looking at that there as a percentage to the overall. Yes, so it's not up 20.5%. It's part of the overall picture of the expenditures for the whole cost center.
Go ahead. Couple questions. On the expenses, what's Torre Valente? 12 of them for $85.
Towards
it?
our pest control.
Okay. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
Like, there is a person here for $85 a month.
Yeah.
Okay. Pest control. And then also, the burglar and fire alarm, $1,000, is that equipment? Is that monitoring? Is it everything? It seems like a perfectly even amount.
It's monitoring.
Okay. This just comes out to 1,000 a year. Okay, good deal.
All right, any other questions? Before we move on to Valhalla Course 360?
So for Valhalla Course, the changes up top in regards to the full-time wages, there was we have one person leaving and one person coming on, so there's a little bit slightly higher than a 4% increase on full-time wages. Part-time wages, they're trying to make sure they stay competitive in order to be able to hire for the summer work. So there were some adjustments done on the wages for the summer. Let's see where else. The biggest changes for overall for Valhalla Course is related to just expenses overall going up in general across the board for what they purchase, whether it's chemicals and fertilizer or their seed and soil. Contracted services. Trying to see. Trying to. Sorry, I skipped a page. So I don't have detail for 360 in my book. Do you?
On this body, yep.
Do you? You don't? Oh, okay. I just want to make sure everybody else did. I was just looking at contracted services.
Yes. Yeah, down,
Because it went up 25%, so I was trying to kind of remember why. For contracted services.
The increase in contracted services. Contracted services covers aeration of the greens that we have to do twice a year, and also we have to dredge the pond. The pond is the major source of our water for our irrigation, and we have to have a contract to come down and dredge that pond every year. So that's most of the expense in contracted services.
So we use the pond for irrigation, so when it's talking about water being significantly lower, is that sewer part of it, water part of it? Is this just like what water is that talking about?
Water, that's really for the sewer, the bathroom, and everything for the maintenance facility. The water for the irrigation system is pumped out of the pond.
Okay. Do we know why the water went down? I mean, that's great. Do we swap the toilets out for better ones, or do we know why?
I'm not 100% sure why it went down. I think that's just the way it's been tracking.
All right, decent.
Everybody was out there with their dogs. They didn't use the bathrooms.
Go ahead, Tiggy.
One question, and I don't totally recall what the answer was, but I think Mike may have flagged the sirens at Valhalla for the lightning at some point.
Yeah, what is the cost of that? About 5?
Let's see.
Yes. So That's under contracted services as well.
And is that something that we're tied into long-term?
I think that's an annual contract, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a yearly contract, so we're not tied into it for 5 years or whatever. If we wanted to get out of it, we're actually kind of looking at trying to expand it to incorporate Twin Brooks. But it's working out very well,
Okay.
yes.
Is there any thought on if we wanted to, or have you discussed if there was an expansion also? Is there a need in West Cumberland for like the rec field, like the baseball
Yeah,
fields?
we had looked at that as well.
So I feel like piggybacking off that, we talked about this last year, and I just forgot. The 5,200 for that, is that if we expanded to Twin Brook or West Cumberland, would that be another 5,200, or is there, a smaller increase to add more sites?
There's a smaller increase to add. So this is our software, this is everything, but as long as, so Twin Brooks would work out because they need to be in close proximity to each other. So to add Twin Brook on, it was like $2,200. And that was really an equipment thing, and then this maintenance fee would cover the whole system. If we were gonna go up and do one at West Cumberland, we'd have to do a whole other system up there,
But we'd still be in the same software
correct?
and all, so it wouldn't be another 5,200, it might be 4,500 or something like that.
That's what we're trying to look into in that. We're gonna try to see if we can get it into Twin Brooks this year and then see how that works, and then possibly move it up to the West Cumberland. But we've got them so they all tied together. So this works out well because if you have a storm down here and it grabs the horn at Valhalla, it's most likely the storm's gonna hit Twin Brooks. But if we have a storm coming through Twin Brooks, it may not be hitting up at the West Cumberland field, but if they're interconnected, it would sound the alarm it's there as well. And there wouldn't be a storm in the proximity. So.
Is there enough traffic at Broad Cove? I mean, I know like with Valhalla, you have people playing golf and they're walking around with holding pieces of metal, right? But when people are in the pool, when there's lightning, you bring them in. So, but is there enough volume from like swimmers and just from a recreational perspective to even look into that particular area as well? Like, or is it just not?
Really
Swim at
haven't
your
looked
own risk, I guess.
Yeah, we really haven't looked at that.
Yeah.
That's a good point. We probably ought to consider that as well.
I was just curious about the
Yeah.
need. I mean, if the volume's not there, then maybe it doesn't justify it, but it would just be
Well,
good
if
to
it's
know.
relying on internet connection, I don't know if
That
it'll
would
make
be a
it.
challenge. That would be a challenge. That's
true,
right
too.
until about a year from now.
You have to drive like 10 miles away from Broad Cove to be able to get any service.
Maybe with our tower.
Tell me about it.
Counselor Thorson, back to your question on water sewer, it went down because that's where we expend the porta potties, and last year we were doing 2, and this year we're doing 1. So we're adjusting the budget for 1
Okay.
now.
Thank you. I have a question about the overtime. Are we bringing that just up to where we think we're actually going to be, or do we anticipate needing more than we have been historically?
The Valhalla guys, they work probably 50 hours a week plus, and they build comp time
Yeah, I heard.
during the summer.
I remember.
And during the winter time, they go to 20 hours a week and use up their comp time.
Okay.
I have a mechanic that works there as well, and he's coming out of plowing, and because we have so much equipment that we really need to dedicate him to the building and working, and he can't even use enough of his comp time because he can't work 20 hours in the winter
Right.
and get all our equipment maintained. So I built in a little bit of a buffer so we could pay him some overtime if he has to work over in the summer.
Okay.
And we touched on this last week, but just again, we're looking like townwide at internet versus, Spectrum versus Fidium and.
Yeah, in the Q&A, we have actually a meeting this week with Fidium.
Yes. Let Spectrum know. Hear us, Spectrum. You're on
Yeah, they'll
notice.
get
Start
competitive.
being competitive in your rates. Thanks. The monopoly
What
ends
rate
today.
you guys are getting? I pay $27 a month to Spectrum.
Doing what?
That's my internet. I got the sign up when you move to town deal. that I'm still holding on to.
I mean, my Fidium bill's 40% less than I would like to spend. It's amazing.
Let me sneak it in.
Any other questions on this
stuff.
section?
Nope.
No? Alrighty, we'll move on to Valhalla Pro Shop. I don't like seeing an increase here.
Crazy over there.
I got a question I'm gonna ask.
There is an increase both on the revenue and on the expenditure side.
Okay.
It
Offsets each other?
yes.
Okay.
They offset each other. So I know we haven't gone over revenues. We will after CIP. But if you wanted to take a peek under your revenues tab, you can go look under 0037 and you can see what the total revenues are. If you look.
It's up 14%.
So his revenues are going up by 8.5%.
What page is that on?
In the detail is page 3. You go all the way to the back,
Oh, I see.
under 0037.
I'm seeing on page 152. Oh, no, just kidding. It's a percentage of the pie.
Yes,
Page 3.
of the detail.
It's about about $104,500 increase year over year, Council Douglas.
Wow, that's great.
So it offsets, and then on the operations for Valhalla Pro Shop, it's up about 81.1. So it offsets it in a healthy
Okay.
portion.
Great. Anything else notable, Helene, to start this one off, or just?
Again, it's just him making adjustments to his part-time wages in order to suit, again, being competitive for the summer part-time employees, as well as you'll see that some costs have went up, as well as program expenses, but again, he offsets it on his revenues.
Yeah.
The health insurance, was that adding a new employee, or is there somebody
So
went
that's
off
that-
theirs and is coming on
Yeah.
ours?
That's that one time where I told you that this is actually 2 full-time employees, and where he, last year, one of the staff actually opted out of insurance, and then at the beginning of '26 opted in. So this is now adjusting the budget to match the opt-in.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Because I'll wait for you.
No, you go first. I'm gonna wait.
Do you have a
for
question, Denise?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm looking at the advertising breakdown, and I'm wondering, do we have any like metrics on how successful each one of these advertising streams are? Like, you've got $350 for the website, which I imagine reaches a lot of people, and then $700 for a rack at the Freeport Hotel. Like, do we know how much traffic that gets and how many referrals to where, yes, we should still spend $700 a year on a rack with a card probably in there that people may or may not see? I know it's hard to quantify that. I'm just curious. I don't know. Is there even a way to know that? To know whether or not we should keep doing that, or maybe do something else that's cheaper? It might reach more people.
I can talk to Nick about that and get you an answer.
Okay.
I don't disagree with that, Denise. Go ahead, Bob.
Can you explain the credit card charges to me? That's an expense, right?
Yes. So this is the fee that he pays for, that is paid for, that we get charged. But it's already wrapped in the revenues on the fee side. This is just that we get a separate bill from the credit card company for that fee. So we have to budget for it.
We take credit cards to pay our taxes, but there's no charge there, so
There
this is different, right?
No, there is a charge to use your credit card to pay for your taxes.
I don't think I really understand.
So when we go through the cashiers for paying the taxes, we actually use the state system. So the state handles all of that credit card fees for us. We don't have to deal with that. It went at Valhalla and Rec Department. They have their own merchant account for credit cards. So when they collect that at the end of the month, they get a bill from the credit card company that says this is your fee for how much you've had card swipes for the credit card machine. But he's already offsetting that in his fees. That's why you see that his revenues,
It's a wash.
it's a wash.
So, but you have to show it as an expense, just to make it, so you can track it. At the same time, you build it into your revenue, so say it was gonna be $97 for a fee, but you charge $100 instead, so you pick up that 3% there that's a pass-through on the credit card, but you still have to identify it as an expense.
Makes sense, Bob? Do you need more clarification? No? Okay. Andrew, Mike, any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So I noticed, I was looking at the catalog for the rec catalog, and there's a new refund policy.
Yeah, I saw that.
Does that offset, or, so I was curious, I don't totally understand the specifics, but, or can't recall the specifics, but does that help at all with these charges, or is that just like a?
That's a pass-through to the customer.
Got it, okay. Thanks. Hopefully I won't have to.
Yeah, because in the past, they weren't passing it through, and they're realizing that has become increasingly getting higher. So they realize they have to charge that back.
Good?
Mhm.
Jeff?
Yes. I did a little thumbing through the revenue section, and maybe I don't have all of it in here. So but when you look at what's high level in the revenue section, where an anticipated revenues of 1.375,257, when you look at these three sections of the budget, total expenses of 1,382,217. So like I said, maybe I don't have all the revenue there, but to me, it looks like we're in the red just a little bit before we even get started.
I know when I reviewed it, I only look at, when we compare revenues, we compare revenues with course and with Pro Shop.
Okay.
And make sure that they tie out. The rec center is completely separate from the course and the.
Okay. All right. If we're in the positive, then the answers my question. I just looked at all three of them together, so.
Yeah, we don't include the rec center because Pro Shop doesn't generate enough revenue. The course is what is really the expenses for the course.
Okay.
So we only compare those two cost centers. If
Okay.
you want next budget, what I can do is I can provide, and I've done this in the past where I'll give you like a net for recreation, a net for the course with the Pro Shop, and then a net with the revenues to the rec center and the expenses.
If I'm not gonna put you through a lot of work, that would be great. If it's
Yeah, I think-
fairly simple, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that would be great. Any other questions on Valhalla Pro Shop? No? All right, moving into 410 Recreation. Okay, anything notable here before we start looking at this, Helene?
They have this, the normal adjustments that they need to do when they're trying to determine where they've been and where they're going versus programming, what the additional cost is going to be for growing a program, if they plan to add, if they're able to, you know, increase programming, what that additional expense is going to be based on just historically where they've been. Again, we always compare revenues to expenses by program on this one. And so it's, every program makes a profit, except of course your overhead, which is your administration that's here in the office at Town Hall.
Sorry, Andrew, did you have a question? No? Advertising is the brochure.
Yes. Yeah.
I have a question now, though.
Go ahead.
So do I.
So the enrichment program expenses went down by 43, almost 40, 44, 3.5 K. What did we lose? I'm assuming we lost there as opposed to just fund some awesome savings.
Yeah, he said their adult fitness programming wasn't running as high as it used to, so he was making an adjustment for that.
Right. And then the sport league fees went up. What are those sport league like?
Can we get to that? Here it is. That would be most of this, like the travel leagues that they have.
So those leagues are just charging us more, and combined it's 3K.
Yeah, it's just
More.
increasing the cost of operation of all those different travel teams that they have, and they send a ton of teams out there on the travel side of it. Basketball's huge, as you've probably seen. So I mean, it's funny, they had, you know, from the little, let's say the younger folks to up to the travel league, but the younger, like before the travel league, they had their finals 2 weeks ago, and they had more people in the gym than they did at either boys or girls varsity finals this year or programs this year. I mean, it was a banged out house. It's pretty impressive, but that travels up to the next level. Those kids are pretty amazing, but they travel. They take parts in those different travel leagues across this, or I'd say our Cumberland County region. But yeah, those have gone up. But I think it's also, there's greater volume too. So if you send more teams, because you have more interest, so you're gonna have to have more expense when it comes to it.
Matt, can you explain to us how does the enrollment and enrollment fees work with North Yarmouth? Do they pay exactly what we pay? So,
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, yeah, they do that. They pay the same rate as a Cumberland resident would. Yeah, that's just part of how that all is worked out.
and the priority on enrollment is first come, first serve?
Yeah, pretty much. On the sport, yeah, pretty much. If you Cumberland or North Yarmouth, and then if you were from, say, another town outside of those two, then you're gonna have to wait to make sure that it gets filled up if someone wanted to participate.
And the programs are usually filled?
They are healthy. Yep, they are very healthy. And then, and I will say Pete and the staff, they're really good at addressing what, what's working, what isn't working. They really have cultivated partnerships with different operators or folks, and they find a new program that may come in, and they have a decent split that takes place, so it incentivizes, say, if you wanted to teach a fly tying class and they got a good turnout for that, they can offer that by partnering up with someone who may have that as an offer. There's some running camps that take place during the year, or other different programs that are out there. So they will evaluate those and see how they work over the course of the year. And then, sometimes they'll drop a class because they're not going to get it, and you don't want that person to have to, you want it to be successful for them and for us. But the youth programs they do really well, thankfully, with them. Yeah, dedicated staff and successful program, and a lot of high interest level.
Question. Go ahead, Denise. With the credit card fees and all that stuff and payment processing fees, are those rolled into the cost of stuff? We
Yeah,
just don't see it kind of like broken out.
You won't see it on the you'll see it on the expenditure side, but then
Yeah.
you also see it on the revenue side. But you have
Is it its own line item?
No.
no.
Okay.
They'll just be in the general revenues, but it's built in, say it's gonna cost, for a camp, it's gonna be, it's gonna be $100, and the software costs are gonna be there on a per unit, credit card fees or other different expenditures. They build that into the cost of
Like
what they need to charge.
one-to-one,
Yeah,
it
one-to-one.
cancels out? Okay,
Yep,
cool.
Yep.
And I know you've said this before, I just want to make sure that that's real and I wasn't just imagining it, so.
That's okay.
It happens a lot.
It's the time of year for those questions, Counselor Thorson.
Okay.
Jeff, wait, you're not allowed to ask any questions.
Okay. All right, thank you, appreciate it. Just looking at computer software and hardware, we've gone down to actually 0. Is that because we moved all that into the tech and TV section of the budget?
No, there used to actually be, the credit card component actually had two pieces to it. It was their computer hardware, so the merchant account charges them two different fees. One has to do with the online ability, and then the actual credit card. And just for simplicity, we've moved it all into just credit card charges, just so that is one line item that we're looking at and not trying to split it up between the two. Because if you look at credit card fees in 2023, it was 55,000, now it's 109, and it's because we took that expense that we were splitting out of computer software and moving it up to the credit card. So now it's just all in one line instead.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
From the peanut gallery? Oh, we have something from the real gallery. Sure, Bill.
So in between my seasonal business, one winter I sold credit card processing, and we stayed away from the American Express Corp card for vendors. And I wondered, do you do that? Because they're like 5% to you, a cost to you. I just wonder if you limit. I didn't know if it helped with expenditures or anything.
So the company itself manages all of it. They have so they run a program, all of that you go online and you pick it and then pay it. That's all done. That's why that's that computer software piece of it. And then they have the offerings of how you can pay for it. Yeah.
Any other questions? Alrighty. Moving on to 430 Parks.
420 active living.
Oh, 420. Oh, sorry. All right, active living.
The only adjustments to active living was really for salary and benefits. None of the other expenditures changed. As you know, we also set aside $55,000 that we transfer over to the senior tax rebate account. So that way we can make sure that there's enough funds to pay the rebate every year.
Can I ask a question, Bill?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do we have any success or any takers for the deferment program?
So don't do this.
I don't think we have any. We had a couple of folks who were interested
Yeah.
initially, and then they decided that they didn't want to do it. I know right after it was passed, we
Yep.
had like 2 different folks who had inquired about it, and then I think after they got more information, they decided they did want to take up on it.
Okay.
We have a lot more interest in the rebate refund program.
Can imagine.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you just talk a little bit more about the senior tax rebate and the usage of that, the 55? Because it's been 55 for the last 3 years, and is the usage going up above that, or is it just 55 is the number that we need to move over?
Yeah, 55, we can look at it and make sure that it's gonna, I know every year it goes up slightly, how much we end up paying. We could take a historical look at it and make sure that it's fit for it, but we just felt that for right now, for budget purposes, that we would leave it and then use year end to fill the gap.
Full-time wages, 3%, not 4%.
Yeah, it's funny because the actual director, she asked me and made sure that that was correct as well. What happened is the prior year,
She got 6.
no, there was the amount we budgeted was more than what the actual need was supposed to be. Again, using Excel spreadsheets, your formulas can get off
Yeah.
slightly. So this, I double-checked that number, and that's the amount we need to make sure she gets the 4%.
Okay. Thank you. Also, for some reason, it's not showing the stipend as a 0% change.
Yeah, that's weird. Maybe because you can't divide by 0?
I don't know.
Although the one above it says 0.
Yeah,
Just a kookiness in the system.
totally. Also, street signs.
I do not use street signs.
Yeah.
Yeah, she, I believe, took that off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry if I missed that.
Yeah, the note is in there.
What?
The note. It's
Yeah.
like, we do not use street signs in active living.
Yeah, I think it was something that was kind of left in the budget, used in the past, but we don't really use it, so.
Makes sense.
Okay. All right, any other questions on this? Where are we at for time?
15.
Okay. We'll move to Parks, 4:30.
Parks is another department managed by our esteemed Assistant Town Manager, Mr. Bulldog. The biggest increase here, again, is we did an increase.
He's not ravishing?
Oh my God, don't even.
No, to me, he's the esteemed.
Not since we reconfigured HR.
You want ravishing? Okay, our ravishing Assistant Town Manager. The biggest increase is adding an additional FTE to this position, to this department as well, based on need.
What's the need? Tell us, Chris.
I knew you wouldn't let me skate again.
Do tell.
So our Parks Department consists of 4 full-time people. They not only maintain Twin Brooks, but they maintain all the grounds, all the town buildings, all public land, the town forest, the West Cumberland Complex, the Rhines Forest. They spend most of the spring doing all the spring cleanups for all the buildings, mulching everything in. They mow the commons out front here off of Tuttle Road. And then once the summer hits, they're basically a mowing operation, and there really isn't enough time to do other things that we need to do, such as all the trail maintenance and the trails behind us, Rhines Forest, and even the trails at Twin Brooks. And we also have a very busy recreation department. So I have staff working most Saturdays, prepping baseball fields, prepping for games, and also special events. So we have lacrosse tournaments and soccer tournaments, and the staff is down parking cars, and they're just kind of getting spread a little bit too thin. We do have some part-time help, but they're mostly at Broad Cove, and we do have a little bit of help at the parks, but they're college and high school kids, and they usually head out and they're done by the second week in August. And so, and we still have 3 months of work in these parks. So it's just really a demand on the parks and all the facilities. And we like to try to keep them pristine. Our foreman down there, Frank Smith, does an excellent job. He takes a lot of pride in it. But they work a lot of hours, and it's time to, as we expand, we've been expanding, but we really haven't been expanding the staff. So I put this in as a request just to discuss and
Just like just a structural question, Matt, and then we can jump to you, Tig. For headcount ads, they're not considered capital. Like, just thinking about the budget I work on normally, we always put, not capital, but like, it's like a different, so is it like optional? Just trying to understand, like, for the additional headcount for Public Works and then the additional headcount for Parks, is that for a discussion, or is that as kind of is presented?
Yeah, we're bringing it as presented, but if the council decides they would like to go in a different direction, then
Okay.
we brought that forward as our recommendation
Okay.
to add both.
Is there a world where like, be like one employee between the two? 2 employees is a lot of headcount, it feels like, but to add, but I don't know. I know that the need is there, but I also just trying to be cognizant. I don't know if anyone has thoughts.
Let me look some stuff over. I might come up with something.
What?
So let me look some stuff over the next week. I might be able to come up with something.
Just thinking of maybe like we take a little bit more of an approach of one this year, maybe one next year, versus doing like 2 full-time headcounts and seeing kind of where we net out. And also wondering, I know Chris and Matt, you're obviously this is your area of expertise, but is there some overlap we can carry from, the part-time staff that's working at Valhalla? Can they put in I don't know, just trying to think. I'm sure you guys have thought of it all, but that's a lot of headcount to add, so.
With both of these, a lot of what's used, or what's going to be happening, is sort of falls under the, rec side of things. Of even if it is rec, it's still, if they're using the parks and all. Are we capturing any of this proposed increase in headcount in fees for, usage of rec programs and all? I know we try to balance those out of the expenses of the rec program and the fees coming in and all. Are we capturing that as well with potentially adding, somebody to the rec side, but then also to the park side, where a lot of the rec stuff uses the parks side of things as well?
Yeah, we haven't built it in or increased our recreation fees to offset the cost for a head count on there. It's more, like as Chris was saying, a lot of the complementary parts of the parks fellows or parks team during the winter is they also will help us out on the public works side as well. So it's kind of trying to serve 2 masters.
Yeah.
Whereas, as Chris was saying earlier, there's now 2 positions over, from the past 15 years, and trying to kind of find a way to creatively fill both needs, but at the same time, you got 1 full-time on the public works side. And on the park side, that person can also, basically once you get out of the maintain the fields and grounds part of the year into coming forward to help us out with plowing and other work that needs to take place during the rest of the year. So, but as far as an offset in revenues, we haven't built that into there.
Can we look at fees for the different organizations that use, Twin Brook or, ball fields or anything like that to, if it's not to necessarily a one-for-one, but to help lessen the blow of adding, 134K all,
Sure.
most of that is,
To add some context, Councilor Magoon, currently one of the parks position is shared with the rec department, and we get that offset from what they share with North Yarmouth, as well as we do collect fees for the usage of the Twin Brook fields, and that goes into an account as well.
It's like when this year, for instance, or this fall, we'll once again host the the cross-country championships will be here. So there's a fee that comes with that, or if there's or Cumberland Soccer Club, when they do things like some of the outside organizations, we do bill on that. So that helps, that does in a sense help offset because it goes to our general fund, but not the 1-to-1 ratio that we have tied in.
right. We looked at, I don't know how recently we've looked at all those fees sort of comprehensively and said, we
Last
decrease.
year. That was a big part of the budget last
That
year.
was 12 months ago. That was a long time ago.
We did.
But looking and sort of continue to look at that of, a lot of this work is going into, taking care of Twin Brook. Well, the organizations that are using that, make sure that that's reflected in any charges. So, but still being reasonable, so we're not, increasing stuff too much for people and sort of scaring them away.
Yeah, we're definitely not subsidizing it, as far as, we're not underwriting the cost, like say with the MPA, Maine Principals Association comes in with their, with their events, like we have a rate built in, similar like we do with coverage up at the fairgrounds with our public safety folks who might help out during Fair Week, or billing out for EMS teams when they're running when horse racing's going underway again, things like that. Like we bill for outside details there, so on this year we build that into what we're gonna, send them for a fee when they do come in for outside groups. So we kind of try to build in our labor costs plus, additional overhead that might fall into that.
Matt, I don't want to go too off topic, but do you have any idea if this Foolish Rail Trail comes to reality, what's that's going to cost us? Because this particular budget item I can see getting jacked up and with no revenue and no public access and the whole thing. So have you had any discussion on the yearly maintenance for our 3 miles?
I've expressed our strong concern about that. I spoke with, I spoke with Christina Egan last week about it, and just said, because I know you'd reached out to her, and I know Shirley had also reached out, so I followed up as well, and just said, we have a high level of concern as far as maintenance, because we understand, my concern is that I don't need the council in Cumberland to catch javelins for the state, because it should be a state, our position is it should be a state project if you're going to do it. It needs to be funded by the state if you want to do it and you're committed to it, as well as you need to commit funds to maintain it as well. And to pass that through to us isn't fair. Well, yeah, I mean, there's so many elements that sit there that they need to have that thoroughly gamed out. So that's kind of been the approach I've had. But we obviously don't have a number in here, but that's a concern going forward. If that does take place, that, there needs to be a thoughtful and fiscal plan to take care of that maintenance that needs to take place. Because if you're just passing it through and say, well, we're gonna have to repave this in 10 years, that money just doesn't come out of the air. So
Right.
they need to have a plan for that, and that's kind of what we've said, if you're committed to it, but I haven't seen a thing yet as far as a fiscal plan that they have for construction, maintenance, or any of the details that come to it. I just haven't.
Okay, thank you, Matt.
No, thanks for the question.
That was my first thought.
Any other questions on parks? No? All right, that's probably where, unless anyone feels differently, we'll close it out for tonight. to be cognizant of everyone's time. Thank you, Helene. Thank you, everybody. Just a reminder that our next budget meeting is Monday, March 23rd at 5 p.m. prior to the council meeting, and that is open to the public and will also be recorded. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you all.
Thank you, Bailey.
Very